viewers. Today recording is going to be based on SQL Server Analysis Services Tabular Model. This is going to be a very interesting video for anyone who wants to get his hands on analysis services. Analysis services is a very important tool because it allows front-end users to implement self-service BI. So this training is meant to build cubes that can be leveraged by business analysts, super users, as well as developers to call this as a data source into other tools like Power BI, Tableau, reporting services, and other like. So the training is going to be based on SQL Server 2012, and we are going to use two main Microsoft applications: the SQL Server Management Studio 2012, as well as the Visual Studio Data Tools, SQL Server Data Tools for Visual Studio 2015. Excuse me. So we have the Visual Studio and the Management Studio. So I'll show you to connect to the database. So this is the database that we're going to be using. That's the Adventures Work DW 2012. I believe some of you might be familiar with this already, but it's a data warehouse that is based off from the Adventures Work. So when we do this, we're going to leverage this as a data source to build a cube, following the instructions on this manual. All right, so let's go through this manual and see how that looks. So in the manual, we have 14 topics, as you can see. So we're going to go through all of these topics and make sure that we build the cube as expected, deploy it to the analysis services server, and then we can now move on to the next tutorials. So I'll go ahead and start up the Visual Studio. So let's look at this manual first. The first thing is to create a tabular model, right? So let's see. Let's get to chapter 1, create a new tabular model project. So what I'm interested here is to look at the name, how they want us to call it. Okay, so I'm going to use this name, AW Enthusiast Tabular Model. Okay, and I'm just going to see what next. Okay, so that is what we need, and for this you just see how I implement all this. All right, then the next will be the add data. So the first thing first, let's go ahead and create this. So go here, click new project, and when you click this project, you have to choose the analysis services. We talked about the tabular model. What is the name again? Remember, I copied that. This is the name. So you guys should be very careful. This is the location of where this is going to be, the file. This is pretty much the default location for a project within Visual Studio. Now, if you see here, I might decide to change the name of the solution, or I might uncheck this so that it won't create the solution. But I want to create a solution to match the project name. So all I'll do is go ahead and click OK. So this is very important here. So when you look at the this is what you need. You have to be careful when selecting your workspaces, right? So like in this case, I'm going to go with integrated workspace because it says it's going to eliminate the need to provide an explicit analysis services instance. Unlike this, which will require you to put an instance. So if you have a server, I'm working on my desktop, so I'm just going to go with this. But if you have a server, you rather prefer to put the server name here, then you do your testing. Now, this is very important here, the compatibility level. What does it imply? compatibility level is pretty much telling us how compatible is the model you're building in the management Visual Studio to the server that you'll be deploying in Management Studio. So you notice that if if you're building your model and you want to deploy into 2012, you have to choose 2012. Looking at this, these are the SQL Server instances that you can deploy to. Say, for example, you want to deploy to an Azure Analytics Services. You have to choose 2017 of this. Now, the caveat here is, if I have to deploy to 2012 and I choose 2014, guess what happens? I won't be able to deploy to this because Visual Studio does not, it doesn't reference back, it doesn't do backward referencing in the sense that I cannot convert from a higher level to a lower level. But if I choose this and I realize that, oh, we're going to deploy to 2014, I can always come back here and change to 2014. And once I change to 2014, I can't go back. So since we are going to be deploying it, the Management Studio 2012, then we have to make sure that we choose the compatibility level 1100. So this, you click OK. Now it's creating the project in that our solution. So once you look at it on the right hand side, you realize that we've created the project already. This is the project, this is the solution. But right now, we don't have any object created. So the next thing is add data. So the documentation to add data. How do you add data? Very important. So if you look at your main menu here, you realize you have file, edit, view, project, build, model, tables. These are the two main tabs that we're going to be using. So I'm going to import my data by using this import data. And our data source is Microsoft SQL Server. So I click next. Then I know I'm going to be dealing with my local database. I know the name, of course, that's my server name, but I'll give it a friendly name, okay? So at least I can understand what it is. So I will go ahead and paste this again, but I'll try to limit it somehow. Let's say AW Internet Service. So at this point, since I'm going with the window authentication again. In the case where you have a server, say a QA server, dev, or production server, and the database requires server authentication, you have to go with server authentication and put a username and password. But in my case, I'm going to Windows authentication. So I want to test the connection, it says successful. Then I move to the next. Here is very important. This is what you're giving. You're supposed to assign a credential that would allow this user to be able to deploy to the analysis services. You can go with the service account if you have an existing service account, but for the sake of this training, I'd like us to be able to establish a Windows username that will run this analysis services account. How do we do that? Normally, if you search for SQL Server, let me see, SQL Server, excuse me, where is that search window? It's not showing up. So it's actually going to be a configuration manager. It's supposed to show up. However, I have it open, right? And how to get it instead of searching, you go to your SQL Server. So since we're deploying in 2012, I have to look at my 2012 instance. 2012, and when you scroll down, you'll find SQL Server Configuration Manager. This is what it is. I had it open already. Excuse me. So here, when you click on your services, you realize that we have the analysis services here. The same thing will apply if you have to deploy your reporting services. So with analysis services, it's already running. I have configured it already. But how did I do that? Right click, you go to properties. So here, you're supposed to create an account that will run your analysis services. Otherwise, it's going to be as the network service account, which might cause some issues at the end when you're deploying. So pretty much what I did was to browse, and then I searched for my account, this one. And once I searched for this account, it gave me the username, and I had to put in the password. So this is the account name, and I created a password. That has already been done. So I created it, click restart, apply, and OK. So it's already been done and it's running. So you will have to do the same step. Again, right click here, properties, you select browse, advanced, find now, then you select your account. This is your login account. That's a Windows login account. But now you need to create a password that will run this, okay? So I'm going to close it. Excuse me. So when you do that, the service is running. So I'll go back here, and guess what? Because I already know the service account, the username, which is this, I'm just going to copy this and get here, paste that value here, and the password, of course, I know what it is. Next. Okay. You see, I'm using the wrong password and it's not going through. There you go. I was using the wrong password. I see. So now, from here, there are two ways you can get your data. Either you get from list of tables of views or you write a query. We'll go with the default selection. There you go. So let's refer back to our manual and see what we need to do here. So remember we are on add data. So let's go here. So we've pretty much gone through these steps. Okay. So, and I think we are here to select this table. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they want us to give us a friendly name. So I'm just going to do that pretty quick. Dim date, friendly name is date. Dim geography. So these are the dimensions. So in a typical data warehouse, you have a fact table and a dimension table. So the fact table is what will contain all the metrics, the aggregatable columns. Meanwhile, the dimensions are mostly attributes where you use this to slice by. So when you talk of a report, for example, sales by product, what comes in front, the sales, is the metrics you're trying to measure and is found in the fact table. Meanwhile, the dimension is what we have. I think this also the one also put internet sales. I'm going to take that in fact. How about just type internet sales? I think we have spaces here. So the dimension are the attributes that you want to slice by. Meanwhile, the fact table are those measures. Okay, let's confirm that these are the tables we need. So we'll go back to the document. Okay, good. So when we are done with this, it says to click what? Finish. Okay. Let's go here. Done. Okay. Finish. Let me see. Make sure that we have that covered. Okay. All right. Do not click finish. All right. That was an instruction. Sorry about that. So it seems like we have to do some filtering. So they're saying that we should do filter on customer table. So they want us to remove all this French. Okay. They will apply the filter. Then I think we have some other renaming columns. All right. So we'll go ahead and see what they want us to do here. Okay. So we'll first apply the filters, and so these are the things that need to be filtered. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'll go back here. customer. Remember we had a customer table? Yep, right. Oh, maybe I checked the wrong one, not geography, it should be customer. I'm going to take out the geography in case we don't have it on our list. Let's go back here and verify. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tables. Okay, so geography is there. All right. We don't have customers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, here, clear the checkbox at the top columns. Okay, select the row of the customer. So it seems like we needed to add customer here because, yeah, dim customer. I see. All right, there you go. So we need customer. For some reason, they left it out here. Well, I don't know. We're going to add customers and the geography. So in the customers, they're giving us some restrictions. So let's preview this and check some boxes that are not relevant. These boxes uncheck rather. They don't want us to have the Spanish and the French, Spanish and French. I think these are the columns they want us to eliminate. So we're filtering this. We are not deleting it from the database. We are just filtering off from viewing it. So what happens here is if you filter a report, it means you're applying like a where clause. Not necessarily a where clause, you're eliminating the columns that you're calling in your select portion of your select statement. So that's what we're pretty much doing. So again, when you filter, what you're doing is you are pretty much removing the columns from your select statement. So remember what happens with performance. Speed up because this column was not relevant and you're not going to pull it when your select statement run at the back. So we're done with this. Now the dates, these are the ones they want to move. Okay, we're going to take care of this as well. So and the same with geography. So apparently since they are taking out anything Spanish, French, I don't know why, but let's try it. Okay, so this, they say once done with this, we click OK. So that is filtered. And on the date, we had some, they say we should take out the date key. Now, in the future, we're going to add this back because this date key is creating relationship within some of these objects. In fact, it is used as a dimension key, a foreign key, in our fact table. And if we take this out, it's going to break that relationship between date and the fact table. However, as we go along, we're going to create the relationship back. So I'm just going to take this out, just follow the instruction. Anything that is Spanish, I uncheck, uncheck. Please, I'm looking for Spanish and French. Spanish and French. Now, the interesting thing is Adventures Work Data Warehouse is built so it can use across the continents, right? So that is done. Let's see what next. The filter, I know geography with Spanish and IP address location. All right, so we don't need this to be pulled in. So anything Spanish, right? We take that out, Spanish, French, and IP address location. IP address location. Okay, I'm just going to take anything that is French and Spanish too, just to be consistent across, right? Even though it's not requested, I'm just going to take that out. I'm looking for IP addresses. There you go. Take this. Bam. Next, product. I believe French and Spanish too. Let's see what happens with product. All right. So we have a lot of stuff here, even Hebrew, Arabic. So everything that is French, Spanish, and foreign language in description. Get it out. Let's do that. Okay. French. I didn't see any of the descriptions in Hebrew, Arabic. Do we have this? Okay, I think they are coming. These are the guys here. Oh boy. So starting from here, we get all the product description out. Hebrew, Thai. Okay, Germany, Japan. Bingo. Next, we have a product category. Let's see, probably we still have the French and the foreign languages as well. Product category, yes. Product subcategory, same. Okay. So, again, this is pretty easy. This and this and subcategory. Excuse me. This out, out. Okay. So that's said. Now the fact table. We want us to break this. If you look at these columns that they're selecting here for the fact table, they are the order date key. These are the keys that were related with the date key that we just took out. This one. So they're pretty much breaking the relationship here. So let's go ahead and remove this 3 dates key. Order date key, I'm sure these are the 3 here. So you just have to think of order date, due date, and shipment date as the date you order this product. The due date is the date that you had to pay for that product, and the shipment date is the date the product has to be shipped to your address. Okay, cool. So we got that. Now let's see if the guide says okay. Very important to follow the guide as it says okay. So what else? So to import, click on OK on finish. Then you close this, save your model, and so on, right? So let's see if there's any thing we missed out. I don't think so. All right. So good. Let's go ahead and finish this before we go to rename columns, okay? So now that we're done, guess what? Finish. So now it's importing all the tables that we requested for. Bingo. Close. So now for those of you who are familiar with Power Pivot in Excel, this is more like a Power Pivot view. And I'll go to Excel and just show you what I'm talking about here. So in Excel, before we got to Power BI, we had a Power View, Power Query, Power Pivot. So this is pretty much an Excel tool. And the Excel tool is the same like what we had in what we just saw. So I'm just going to extract a certain columns here. I'm just doing this so that you guys can understand that, hey, do you know we might be able to implement the cube in Excel? Oh yes, that's what I'm just trying to let you know. So what I'm going to do is to do the same thing, but I will not go through all the editing. I just want to show you that Microsoft has gone a long way to make sure that Excel can do some of the stuff that developers do at the back in Visual Studio. So look at this. Voila. Look at this. It's the same thing. I'm telling you, same thing. And you notice that when I look at this, I have this button here, the diagram view. When I look at my diagram view to see my tables and all the connections, guess what Excel also does? Diagram view. It has the same thing. So what I want you to understand is Excel is very powerful and you can implement all this in Excel. Okay. So anyways, we're here for analysis services. So let's run back to where we are. So I'll always be flipping between the table view and this grade and design. Okay. So let's look at what we have next. Renaming columns. Now, renaming column is very important because you're looking at this is going to be a tool that will be used by front-end users. Okay, so for the front-end users, they need to know the names after the business. All these keys, primary keys, and all of that, these are not business terms. These are for developers. So it's good that you have names that the business will understand. Like, oh, I see, this is what it is. In database best practice, you notice that you at any two names or two words you combine together. This is what we call camel nomenclature, where you have the first letter of each word is capitalized and you bring them together. Look at all this, but they want us to separate it. So we'll start with, excuse me, uh, the customer. So I think we have a lot of stuff to do here, but let's go ahead and just get this done, okay? So I'll change all this to the way they want it to be. All right, how do I do that? Simple. I'll just go in here and double click, change this to ID. Uh, this is customer alternative key. What was so customer alternative ID, and so on and so forth. All right, so I have a customer alternative ID. It seems like they don't like the word key. So we're going to remove every key and replace the ID and make sure we have our space here. First name, last name, just double click on it. Middle name, last name, name style, that date, okay, okay, email address. So basically we are changing, just adding space, right? It can be time consuming, but let's be patient here. Number of children at home. Address 92 usually is like the suite number or the apartment number. Okay. I thought this will never get to an end. All right, so we're done with this. So let's see next date. So we're gonna change the dates too. So the full day alternative become date. Then the other ones we separate into. All right, date. Are we going back and forth for this? So this is most spaces. Okay, this English, I think we have a different name for that. It's day name. All right, day name. Okay. Next, the day of month, day of year, week number of years. Okay. Yeah, have day of month. This is the day of year. The week of year. Let's see. The pattern seems like it's week of year. I'll keep this and just double check. Week number of year. Oops. Okay, next is month name. Month, calendar, quarter. Month name. So these are the names that the business will see from the front end. So it's very important that we make sure we have the names right. Okay, month name, month year. I think it was month year. Yes. Then calendar quarter. Calendar year. Actually, trust me, this is the boring part, right? Renaming. Who likes to rename? Because it involves typing, right? Yeah, so fiscal quarter, fiscal year, fiscal semester. All right, so we're done with year or date dimension. So we have the geography ID, so all these ones we just put the space and move on. All right, for geography, excuse me, geography ID, space, I think here we take out the English, so I thought we took out Spanish here. All right, I'll show you now how to get rid of this. Remember the Spanish? I thought we were supposed to eliminate it, but it's still here. So let's make sure save territory ID. So now let's assume that you actually forgot to remove this Spanish column. So what do we do? Remember, we're coming back here, okay? I'm going to dive into this table property, and from the table property, I will be able to uncheck that. You notice that this is unchecked. I didn't uncheck this, so I'll uncheck this, and this will disappear from the grid view. Voila, we no longer have it. So for products, let's see what we're supposed to do for products. Products seems like we have a lot to do, man. Okay. Let's see. All right, let's move on with this. Fast. Products. Product ID. Okay, so this is what I'll do. Uh, we would have to make sure that we have all this product correct. So I'll move on with the training for the meantime. And if we need any column that has to carry a different name or a nickname in the course of the work, then we'll get back there and change it. Are we cool with that? All right. So this is the assumption. We are done with all of this, okay, because it's taking time. They're not adding much value. So let's go ahead and move on, and eventually we can change this. All right. So that's it. The next is for us to get this mark a table as state. So normally, because of time intelligence and DAX expression, that data analysis expression, it's good that you identify a table as a date. So in that way, it can be able to perform any functionality as state. And it's pretty much simple. If you click on the date tab, then you go to model. Here on the date, you click as mark as date. Then it's going to ask for the primary key, which is the date, right? Okay, that's all. That is all. So now the system recognizes this date key, date table as a date. Now, create relationships. Very important. Remember that when we were unchecking some columns, I told you, I said, hey, this date, we're going to add it back in the future and stuff like that because we need to create some relationship. Now the time has come, right? Where we have to figure out what needs to be related and, stuff like that. So now they want us to add a relationship between the customer and the geography. So we notice that we have a primary key geography ID in the customer table and also in the customer table. So let's go ahead and create that. So pretty much this is what they're expecting us to do, right? So we're gonna have customer and geography, tie on geography ID, product and this, the sub product category, tie on this, and so on and so forth. This tie on this. All right. Then, of course, we're going to create the relationship too. So for now, let's see what happens here. So to create relationship, so let's look at here. Let's see the manage relationship first. This is what they were telling us before. Like this is going to tie with this, and or whatnot. So yes, that is what it is. For the sake of consistency, I'll notice that we have product subcategory ID. I'm just going to go to the various tables, right, and just change those first columns to IDs, right? So what I mean is, since I skipped, I'll go here and just change this to ID. Just that we see the names consistent. Again, I told you that if there's need for me to change these things, I'm going to change as we go along. So one of the need that already arise. So again here, I'll change this to product subcategory ID. And the product subcategory ID is also tied to the product category. I'm going to change this to an ID. I just want to have some consistency in the name, okay? So let's go back to our relationship again, manage relationship. And we notice that those columns that I selected and changed the names, they are now showing as ID, right? Okay, so that was to view what we had in existing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure we have the 5 relationship here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. Now we're going to create one more, and that is the date. So if you look at the date, it has to be in the internet sales. So between the order date and the order date in the order date table. So we have, if you look here, we have order date key in the internet sales, and in the date table we also have order date key. So to be more precise, click and hold on order date column, then drag the cursor to date and release. You see a solid line that will be established. Okay, so this is pretty much what we are saying. This is actually at the model level or the diagram level. So we are saying that we have a broken table somewhere. If you look around, you see a date table hanging somewhere. Okay. So what they're saying is we should establish a relationship between this table and this table. So they said drag date to order date. That's to establish that relationship. So from here, drag and drop on order date. Fail to say units and column date. Okay. You know what? Let's just get back to the view. I'm gonna use the keys. Okay. So I'll go back here to the date property. I know I left out this key here. All right. So it's better to get this key because they're complaining about uniqueness between this column and the order date key. So I'm going to use this. And I'll go to my internet sales. I'm also going to activate the column that is for the order date key, this one. So in that way, you see some uniqueness, okay? So, so actually, instead of using the date itself, I'm using the keys to establish that. So go back here. So now I'm going to have the order date, the date key is here, and the internet order date key is here. If I drag this and drop here, bingo, that connects, right? So I'm just going to keep that as a relationship. And of course, when you go to manage relationship, you see that we have that relationship between internet sales and order date right here. Are we cool? Bingo. All right, so what next in the document? Create calculated columns. To create calculated columns, let's see what columns they want us to calculate. So they want us to do calculations on the calendar column. So in the data view, yes. So right click on the calendar column and then click insert column, the new column. Okay, all this stuff, right? So this is what we're interested at. This one. I'm going to copy this, and this column is going to be renamed month calendar. All right. So let's go there and see what happens. Here, the date, and they want us to click where. Very important. Calendar quarter. Right click, insert a column. Okay. So you see this, when you do that, there's a formula bar that shows up here. So the one of month calendar equal to. Remember that we have something to paste. There you go. Yes, sorry about that. All right. Okay, interesting. So when you see month and it's giving me error here, because there is supposed to be a column called month in my date key, which I did not create as month. Now, it might be the month name. So I'll go back to this document and look at month, which column was referred to as month, and I gave it a wrong name. Okay, very important. Month number of year should be month, but I wrote month year. So this is what happens now. It's referencing month, whereas I have a month year. So what I'm going to do is to double click on this and change this to month. Now see the magic one. Ta-da! Because I gave a wrong name, the formula was referring to that column. All right, excuse me for that. All right, so that's why we had all this, okay? So, all right, so what's the next column? I'll go back to my derived columns. So we created that, we gave it a name. Then they also want us to create another one for this, which I'm going to right? Excuse me. So this one also is for, they want us to give it a name, right? Let's see the name. I've copied that already. Rename. Please, if you see rename, let me know. Click the column. Rename it day of week. All right. So click on column menu and then add column. So they still want us to go to date, and now they want us to do it another way. So you go to the date, then you go to column menu, add column, the same. So but what's the name? Day of week. So here now, where is it again? Day of week. My column paste. All right, day of week. There you go, right here. Next, click on column header and drag the column between day name and day month. All right, so they just want us to drag this and drop it somewhere. So here, they want us to drag and drop a day name and day month, right? So somewhere around here, this is where we're bringing that column. Now they didn't want us to click and then create a column between that. So I'm just going to drag it. It's moving. Okay, I'll drop it here. Then take one step again. Drag it. Make sure you click on it well. Now it's starting to drop. All right, so day, week, and day, month. I guess this is what they asked us to do. All right. Next, let's see. On the product category, now we're going to do some related, right? So here, these two column tables are related. So we want to, what they're trying to achieve here is to have a column in the product category. We have to call the product category name in the product table. So in the product table, they want us to have a column called product category. Okay. So this is what they expect us to put inside there. Now, we probably will still run to an issue here because of the naming, but we'll fix that. So what this is saying is, I'm looking for a related table called product category, and I want to get the product category name. So basically, if I go to my product category, I just want to make sure that I get this right. So I'll just go ahead and delete and put my space, right? Okay, so they are saying we should go to product and let's click here, and then the name is product category name, if I'm not mistaken. Product, rename it product category name. All right. So product category name. So we are bringing product category name into the product table. So when you click on that, it has referenced that table and it brings the value. So now, just to make sure that we have the right values, if you drop down the arrow, you actually see names. The fact that we don't have it here is the data. You can't change the data, right? All right. So we do have it here. Let's see if they want us to drag it somewhere. Okay. I think they didn't ask to drag. All right, so we'll find. Then the same thing applies. Create a product category name column in the product table. So again, we're going to get now into the product category and make sure that we have a category name, product category name in product category table. So let's go back to product category and we see product category name. So again, remember I said in case we need it, we're gonna fix it. So that's what we're just doing here. So again, the product table, we want us to add a column here called, this should be product subcategory. Oh my gosh, all right. You can't have two columns in the same, right? So this is going to be subcategory. So here, we should have a product category now. Product category. So again, you're going to see that their names there, right? Bingo. All right. Next. All right. Create a margin calculated column in internet sales table. And the margin is as simple as it, sales minus total cost, and you call it margin. Then you drag it in between sales amount and the tax. So that takes us back to this. So I'm going to change names here. This one called sales. So sales amount, I'm going to put a space, and product standard cost, I'm going to change that to product cost. So in that way, when I create a column margin, remember you have to click on this, right? So you can highlight it. Semicolon equal to this. Oh, product total cost. So I'm supposed to change the name on the product total cost. So that's fine. I'll just change that. I'm going to get an error now because the column doesn't exist. Okay. Okay. So let me go back there. Okay. This is actually because of the double equal sign. Now I'm going to let it fail just like we did last time. And then I'll go now to the total product cost. Double click on it. Just put my space. And voila, you have it. So let's say let's drag this and drop it in between sales amount and the tax. There you go, it finds its position. All right, so let's move on. The total margin is used to analyze profit margin for each product, pretty much. Now we're going to measures. So measures, it's very important because these are calculations that are going to use in, it's going to use across the different dimensions. So it's some kind of a pivoting formula that when you pull in the pivot table in Excel, it gives you the result based on the selected criteria in your filter. All right. So let's see what we need here. So some of this, we're gonna do create our first measure is going to be with a date. So they say we should create this current quarter to date measure in the table, date table. All right. So I'm interested. This is the name that they want us to be, and this is the formula here. So this formula is to get, this is a data expression, date quarter to date. So normally it's like you want to get your sales from beginning of the quarter to date. So this is what you're applying. By this time around, you just want to get a count of records. How many records have this quarter to date, right? So we're going to use this and then populate that in the date, and we have some other stuff to do in the date dimension as well. So date. Now, when they talk of the measure grid, this is what they're referring to. If you look at, I'm going to undo this. Where is that measure grid? There you go. See what happens to this, my highlighted cell. Measure grid. When I uncheck this, it disappears. So when they say you should check the measure grid, this is what they're saying. Okay, show measure grid. All right. Now you've selected this, and I want to place anywhere you place this, right? It works. It doesn't matter where you put your measures, But when you select this and place a measure, it's going to be created in the date table. So here, all what they're saying is we can either do edit formula, right click, edit formula, and then you're going to paste that formula there. But all formulas have like equal sign. So I'll come here and just copy this name. Go back here, paste that. There's an E, there's a semicolon, and there's an equal. Then validate this, let's see. All right, that sounds good. Close this. So I've created that. The next, it says you create days in current quarter. So this is, you want us to get the row counts between the date of the start of the quarter and then to the last date of the end of the quarter. So all this, I'm just going to copy this. Now when I go here now, I paste it. So I can create that here. Okay. Okay, next. The one needs to do what? This is to create internet distinct count cells measure. Distinct count cells. How many distinct count cells a particular product? That's what we're talking about here. So again, depending on the filter that you apply, it's going to give you a distinct count cells. All right, so on the order sales order name column heading on the toolbar, click the down arrow next to the sum. Okay, then you select sum, distinct counts. All right. So let's look for the sales order column, and we look for that count. Okay. So first we go to inner sales, right? Okay. Then again, as I said, anywhere you can place your cursor. Okay. I want to make sure we have the spaces here. So the cell should go ahead, put it here in this column, and we'll get a distinct count from this one. So here, drop this distinct count. All right, so we're getting a distinct count for that particular color. All right, so what next? We're going to get to create additional measures in this. Okay, these are the additional measures that we're going to create, okay? So the first is going to be internet line. So go to the other line number, right? So you see that whatever we're trying to calculate, we just put it under the column. So line number, sales of the line number. Again, I'm just going to put a spaces here. I think the same thing applies. We're doing a count. So just applying a count, of course, will give you that. So if I go here, count, it gives me that count. Okay, next, some other quantity. So other quantity, somewhere here. Put my space here. Some okay. This is just easy and straightforward, right? Total product cost the same, sales amount the same. Sales amount the same. Okay, I think margin, this is margin average. Margin, the sum of margin, tax, everything sum. Tax, sum, freight, sum. Okay. So we got this covered. So by clicking an empty cell in the measure grid and by using the formula bar, create and name the following. Okay, so now they want you to do it now elsewhere, right? So we are going to apply this now on different cells. So copy this internet previous quarter margin. Okay, so internet quarter margin. I'm just going to place all of them the same. Internet quarter margin. Internet total margin. Okay, so I think what I had here, let's see in our document, previous page for the margin. This is margin, internet total margin. This is the name that they wanted us to have, okay? Internet total margin, internet total sales. So I have to do some name fix here. Okay, so they were all internet. So let's go back here and just do some damage control here. All the stuff that we created here, they were not properly named. That's why we're getting this. So like for this, it's supposed to be internet total sales. Total freight rather. So internet total tax amount. Internet total margin. And internet total sales. Gross sales amount. Internet total cost. Okay, these are the names. So let's see what happens to the internet margin now. Okay. Yes, okay. I apply that, yep. Okay, so edit internet quarter margin. Okay, let me see. It's not trying to. I'm gonna delete this. Let's copy this out. Control C. Remove this. Okay, so I just deleted that. I want to make sure that name, spelling, everything is right. Internet quarter margin. Internet total margin. Previous quarter. Okay, so we got this now. So the same thing, we have to repeat this. Internet total margin, and it's going to be internet current quarter margin. We'll go here. Current quarter margin. Okay. Next. Internet previous quarter margin to date. Internet previous quarter margin proportion to date. internet quarter margin proportion to date. Make sure the name is right. Internet previous quarter margin proportion to date. I'm just going to copy this and paste. Okay, we already see that there is internet previous quarter margin. So we said internet previous quarter margin is missing. So did we create that before? If yes, let's see. Internet previous quarter margin. So we're supposed to have that as the first. So internet previous quarter margin. So we're going to get an error here, right? But let's figure out internet previous quarter margin. Oh, it's supposed to be previous. So because we had that as quarter margin, so again, once you change that, you get it what? Yeah. Yeah. What next? Let's see. Let's keep going. Internet previous quarter sales. That's what it says. Internet previous quarter sales. Previous quarter sales. Any error? Yes. Internet total sales. Huh. I thought we had internet total sales. All right. Right. Let's see what happens here. Internet total sales. Internet total sales amount. I see. So supposed to be sales. So once that is fixed, guess what happens? This automatically is fixed. Okay. Internet quarter sales. Internet current quarter sales. This is the expression. Internet quarter current quarter sales. Okay. All right. Last but not the least here is the internet previous quarter sales. Internet previous quarter sales. Previous quarter. Previous quarter sales proportion to quarter to date. Proportion to quarter to date. All right. Okay, so great. Next, 8 is KPIs. So create KPIs, key performance indicators These are just indicators for business to know how well they're performing and vice versa. So we're going to create a couple of KPIs and then we move on. So the first KPI we're going to create here is internet sales. So we're saying that in the formula bar. So now we have to create internet current quarter sales performance KPI. And this has to be done in the internet sales. So they want to click on an empty grid and you paste this in the formula bar. All right, so these are all KPIs. Guess what? I'm going to put them directly under the measures we created. So at least we can be consistent. All right, so let's delete this. We're supposed to select KPIs. Then we go ahead with this, okay? So this is the formula we're going to create. So in the formula bar, let's paste this, and then from this value, we're going to use now to create KPI. So again, we're going to do that here, paste it, and then right click on it, create KPI. So this is where we have to apply some rules. So on the target, they want us to put 1.1, and then we'll drag our bar to 1 and 0.8. So how do we do that? So we're targeting 1.1% as a margin. And here we want it to be, so we're putting 1 being the minimum, and 0.07 being it's more like a favorable almost. So what's happening here is if you have this margin less than 1, it's bad. If it's between 1 and 1.07, okay, getting better. And if it's above 1.07, it's awesome. So these are the things we're going to be creating here, KPIs. So next. Another KPI is this one, which is they want us to get the internet current quarter margin performance. So this is the DAX expression. We're not going to go deep into the DAX expression, but for us to be able to generate KPI. So if you look here, it's just saying if the previous margin quarter to date proportion is different from 0, then they give us the current quarter margin minus the internet previous quarter margin divided by this. Else, leave it as blank. So if it is different from 0, it is less than or greater than 0. Yeah, but if it's 0, then leave it as blank. That's pretty much the logic. So we'll go here, copy the same thing that we did before, paste, okay. Okay, so there are probability that the names, let me first do this and verify that we have it right. Okay, so it seems like There are a lot of errors that we have to fix. Okay. Internet previous quarter margin Q to date. They're saying that we don't have this column. Internet previous quarter margin proportion to quarter to date. All right, so we're gonna just investigate this, right? So again, let's be careful with the way we name our stuff. Internet current quarter margin, internet previous quarter margin. So we're looking for internet previous quarter margin proportion. Internet previous quarter margin proportion. Internet previous quarter margin proportion to Q to date. So this seems to be the name that we're looking for. Internet previous quarter margin proportion to date. So let's look at our documentation here. Internet previous quarter margin proportion to date. Okay, internet previous quarter margin proportion to Q to date. Not sure why, but this is what I'm going to do here. I'll snip this. This is what we are looking for. I'll copy this. Then I'll go here. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to replace this with that name. I don't see any difference there. So this can be painful, right? Because you think everything looks exactly the same, but it's giving us an error because of that. Now, if I don't get it, there's a workaround. Okay. What is the workaround? So let's see what happens if I start typing I'm just gonna cut this, Control X. All right, this might be a little bit painful, but let's do this. Just because I'm not sure. Then previous quarter margin proportion. Proportion include margin previous proportion. Let's see previous quarter margin proportion. Okay, quarter margin proportion to date. That's the first piece. So if this is different from zero, comma. Okay, what do we want? We want internet current quarter margin minus internet previous quarter margin. Okay, we want internet current quarter margin. Is that what they're saying? Internet current quarter margin minus the previous quarter margin proportion to date. Margin minus previous quarter margin proportion to Q. Okay, close the bracket. Divided by thanks to the intelligence, right? Internet previous quarter margin proportion. Internet previous quarter margin proportion to date. Else, it give us blank. Okay, so let's check this now. Okay, hmm, all right, so what is happening here? We have blah blah blah. Okay. Hmm. So the interesting thing here is this internet previous quarter margin proportion to date. I'll copy this and maybe just paste it somewhere. Then go back to that formula, copy this, get here. So this internet previous quarter proportion to date. It says that's a DAX error. Okay. Okay. Huh. Internet this. I think I'm getting something here. Star. Okay, that might be the issue. So I took two measures together and I was wondering how come you have these two measures together without, so looking at it, I saw that there was this is an if statement. If this is different, then the current quarter margin times the internet previous quarter margin divided by this. Yeah. So pretty much looking at it, I think we're missing a star in the expression itself. So it's definitely good that you should have some idea on in DAX, very important. So I'm going to create a KPI now. What did they say about this again? This now absolute value is 1.25 and we have the threshold 0.8 and 0.108. Okay, so our absolute value, which is the goal, when we hit this goal, 1.25. So 1.25 is like 25% above, right? And this is going to be 0.8. 0, and this is going to be 1.03. Okay, we're choosing the same. Let's see. Yeah, diamond and click OK. All right. So pretty much this is what they want us to do. All right. Awesome. That was hard. So getting back to perspectives. Perspective is pretty straightforward. This is when you're trying to create a specific model for particular division or department in your company. So we're going to create perspectives here, right? For the sales perspective, which I think that's the only one we have here. So all we need to do is, I'm going to create a couple of perspectives. So, but we're going to just do the sales perspective. All right. Okay. So here, perspective is here. All right. So create a managed perspective. So whatever column you want to show in your perspective, this is where you're gonna do it. Okay, so they want us to create a sales perspective. So check the boxes that you want. Which of the boxes do they want us to check? I think date, geographic, product, blah blah, but not sales. All right, they just want us to leave out sales, customer. So again, this is it. If you want to create customer perspective, you can create a customer perspective. And within each of these, you can also specify the columns that you want, right? So I can say I just want first name, gender, last name, marital status, date of first purchase, right? So it all depends on what you want to do. So those create 3 perspectives. That's it for perspectives. Next, hierarchies. So hierarchies are these are features that allow us to drill down and drill down into a particular dimension and see the grain of measurement. Okay, so you want us to create hierarchies for calendar, fiscal, and let's see, date. Yeah, we have the create calendar dimension. So they want us to put this, create all this as dimension. They will have fiscal, will create the same. Then product calendar will create the same. So let's go there now. All right, so the way I usually do my hierarchy is easily going to the design view and the date. See this button, you click here, hierarchy, you name that calendar. And they want us to pull specific columns to this hierarchy. And these columns are calendar year, calendar, semester, quarter, month, and day of month. So okay, was calendar year, calendar quarter, the calendar month, calendar month. I don't know if this is the calendar month. And calendar, what else? day of month. So just gonna rename this. You want us to put day, month, quarter, year, and year. So the same applies. We'll create another one for physical. So have the fiscal year and fiscal and calendar. These are two different accounting um, periods. Fiscal quarter. This is what we're supposed to drop on the other one. So I'll change that at the top. Month and day of month. Right click, add to, there's the fiscal. Yes, that was just easy. Then this month should be removed, and then we bring in day of month, month calendar rather, month calendar, and drop it right here. Okay, and I think they asked for product. Yeah, so for production calendar, that's another hierarchy. Production calendar, we're going with calendar year. Add to production calendar. Week number of years and day of week. Week number of years. Production. And day of week. So let's go there and edit. So this is going to be year, and the production year, week. And this is going to be day. All right, so we're done with the hierarchy. All right, create this 11. Create partitions. So partitions, for the purpose of optimization, we might have some data that are old and we don't need, so we want to create those different partitions. And also, management may require that you run a particular a date range or product range for a specific purpose. Maybe because if you try to refresh your entire database, it's going to take forever. So this is pretty much how we're going to manage that. It's pretty easy and straightforward. So you go to create partitions from the tables, right? So here we are doing a partition on the fact table. So normally the fact table is the one that has like the huge data. Dimensions are pretty much standard. So we're going to create a couple of partitions here. So new. So what are we doing? We're going to write queries. All right. If I say I want to put 2010 data, right? So I'm passing my filter. I might order it. So you see, I'm writing a query like where. So this is a SQL query which you can actually run in your management studio. So if I go here to the database, all right. So we probably need on information for, say, if we want to filter 2010, create partition of 2010. All you need to do is put your where clause where order date greater than or equal to 2010 January 1 and order date less than or equal to 2010 December 21st. So when you run this, it's only going to filter you data for this for that period, 2010. So what we're going to do is this query is going to be applied and we'll create multiple perspectives out of it. So this is 2010. If I go to 20, I want to create that for 2011 or 2011. Yeah, let me just copy this. 2011, and I'll change this date. Copy 2012. Change the date. So I'm creating three partitions: 2010, 2011, 2012. Okay, so I now have three partitions that have been created. All right, so okay, so this is pretty much a query and everything, you know. So created partition. Now what I noticed was they're using 2005, 6, 7, but unfortunately we don't have data for that. I'll show you that. This is 2005 to 2008 or 2009. Let's run this and see what happens. There's no data. So if you go to 2010, now you start seeing data. So from 2010 to 2012, that's what we're using. Okay. And I see data for this period. That's why I decided to use 2010, 11, 12. Cool. All right. So now we're gonna create rows. So rows is pretty much based on who access what data. And you can create rows at the level of the data, row level securities, such that when somebody logs in from a particular division, he only sees that information. So go ahead and create these rows here. So when you create rows, you have to provide the permissions. You have to provide the level of permission. Okay. So how do we create rows? So let's get there. Excuse me. Here, you're going to click on rows, new rows, sales manager. The members. Now you have to add the Windows login, right? For who is going to access this. So this is where you select the people that can access that information. So you're creating roles now for anybody who belongs to a group would access that information, right? So this is basically how you establish that role. So looking at this, we'll consider this as a role created for sales manager. Then if you want to put in the permissions, so you realize that you can also do that. Okay, how do we do that? Let's create another role. So we have a administrator. Let's say director. Okay, in the permissions, you drop it. So, I want them to be administrator. And this person also, this set of people, you can restrict them that they're only going to read and process. And that's it as well. Members still, you can, under this one, you have to assign the members to, right? So we're going to add, give anyone who is an administrator here. This is an admin. So again, and the last row we're going to create is the one that we're going to pass DAX expression for sales analysts in the US. So that same, we're going to be able to pass this DAX expression in geography. So we're going to call this sales analyst US. Model rows, sales analyst US. You have read and process. So in the geography, you're going to pass a DAX that would allow, it's going to filter this data. Whoever is passing this information, I'll just give it an administrative. So let's say this is US, and that person, I'll give the person admin, so you can do everything. And that's it. So you've created the roles. Okay, next is how we should analyze in Excel. So normally, while you are here, you can just click on this Excel button and it's going to take you to Excel. So here, they want us to find out, what do you want? Do I want to pass information just for particular rows? Or I want whoever is logging in? Or if you want to see any particular perspective, the default perspective will go with anything that you created. So this is what happens when you analyze in Excel. So you realize that here we have this pivot table with all the stuff that we've created. You realize we have these measures, KPIs, and stuff like that. So it is here that the business analyst is actually going to do his or her analysis. You can do a regional sales by internet, let's say by sales amount. So apparently there is a bug that I don't understand. This, you notice that these numbers, this should be a matrix that goes under the sum, but that's not giving me right. So if you look at the internet sales itself, you realize that I'll show you what I mean. If you look at some of these tables, these are measures here. If I go here and click any of these measures, it treats them as aggregatable. But for all those that are not aggregatable, they are all under the measures. So this is where, if you want to see some numbers, you have to click on the measures, not on the other one, because the other columns here is being treated as dimension, and once you click on it, it comes here. So please take note. The measures that we created were the ones that are under here. These are the only things that we can use to analyze. Okay. If you're clicking the independent columns here, it's not treated as a measure. And for that reason, you end up with blanks. Very important. So we have this, and let's see. It's not previous code analysis. So again, if you want to get some better analysis like the date hierarchy, we did create some hierarchy, right? So we can go to the date and we say, okay, I'm going to use my calendar, drop it here. So you see how it breaks down. Nice. Let's see if we can throw some KPIs. How about we throw, this is the goal, and we have the value. We didn't get any value for that. Okay. Then the status is going to be these lights. Let me see one that shows up. Okay. Oh, there you go. So the status is what shows up as the KPI. So let's try that again with this one. Status. So anyone that doesn't perform well, there you go. You see that we have some danger, right? If you choose to find out where are these dangers, you can drill down. We haven't done it at the city level yet. So, but if I go ahead and add some other attributes here, like the cities for the geographic dimension, you might be able to drill down to see, hey, I see it is this city that is causing this issue, right? So let's see if that's going to tell us. So Australia, let's find out if we have some wacky cities, the ones that are red. Okay, see what's happening. You can tell that these two guys are the ones that are causing this overall red. So look at the headings here. So we have for 2011. I want us to look at this pretty well. We have our sales, quarter sales of 2011. Okay, and we are saying that the margin for this is negative. And what is causing that is because of these two sales. Oh, well, I'm sorry, this is production. My bad. But this is measuring sales pretty much. So to be more, let's put it this, I'm going to take this out, okay? And I'll bring in the sales value. How about that? Instead of putting production, then measuring sales, that doesn't work, right? So let's look at our total sales. There you go. Now we can measure this total sales and the KPIs. So we're seeing that our sales, we didn't meet the target for our sales. That's why it's red. But however, within that, we have some good guys that made their target. But the overall performance here is red. So for that reason, if management were to make any decision, guess what they'll do? They'll look at these guys that are red and find out, hello guys, what's going on with you guys? Right? And they'll be able to find out what the issue is. Now, let's see what happens if I can drill this to the point where we have our quarters and the month. You can now see details of January sales and the performance. You notice that some of them did not do well in the first quarter of 2012, and if you go further down the quarters, they're doing bad. But overall, they were able to make it back to green. So this is some kind of a good way to analyze this in Excel. But guess what? This is what the analyst will be doing in front. You as a developer, your responsibility is to make sure that the cubes are well built and the analyst can go the front end and be able to pull this. All right, let's dive back and conclude. So what the last step? The last step is to deploy. So what does it mean by deployment? We have built our queue in analysis services, Visual Studio. If you talk to a BA, business analyst guy, go to the Visual Studio and do this. Like, what's Visual Studio? I know Excel. So we want to make this available for front-end users to pull data. So now we get into the deployment phase. Now to deploy, you have to identify where am I deploying this. That's when SQL Server becomes, Manual Studio becomes handy. This is where all the deployment is done. Remember from the beginning when I said, oh, when you do this, you have to make sure that you select the right compatibility. Now is the time. If you don't have the right compatibility, it's not going to deploy. So how do you configure your deployment server? So let's go to the properties, and you realize that we have the server, and this is how the database is going to be called. If you want it to be called this way, great. If you don't want it to be called this way, you change it. Now, usually, I don't want to have databases name being called with spaces. So we're going to take this out, and we'll just put as AW Internet Sales. My database is localhost for sure, or I can go ahead and put in my server name that I know. And this will be any server that you'll be provided. So here the query mode is in memory, very important. In memory means that the user will be able to pull the data within and the application will manage that memory inside. Otherwise, if you use the direct query, it means it's going to hit the database, and that might be cause of performance issue, especially the user don't have full access to the database. So my database is configured and it's great. If I have multiple environments, I'll need to configure the different environments here. Okay, we can go here and add new. And for example, I have a QA environment. I'll create my QA environment. If I have production environment. So once you have all this set up, then from here, each environment you want to configure, you just drop down the arrow from here and select. If it's QA, what's my QA server? If it's prod, what's my prod server? Okay, but we are going to leave our development here, right? So dev and put my server. and okay, so internet AW internet sales, that's my database name. So okay, then guess what? Right click, deploy. Now I'm deploying. Bingo. Let's see what happens. Where have I deployed? Right here. So I need to connect to my analysis services. Analysis services, that's my database, the server name. So when I expand it, bingo. Oh, I didn't change this finally. So apparently it came in as this, but I know why. Probably use the prod server, but this is the name of my database that I've deployed to. Okay, let me go back here and do some adjustment here if you're okay with that. Properties. Okay, that's the database name. Yeah, sorry, I think we're good. So this is my solution. And this is the database, and these are my objects, and these are the rows that we created. See that? So now something that you need to learn. Once everything is completed, assuming that you don't have access to this, how do you process your queue? As simple as that, you right click here, process database, and then you select full. When you do a full, it's going to load all the partitions, the tables, the hierarchies, and everything. And let's look at the script, how it looks like. Then you do what? You click execute. So if you've created new partitions, if you created new relationship, everything is going to be done and awesome. So right now, we have successfully built this and deploy to database server. Last but not the least, now is the time for your analyst to be able to access this. So let's say I'm a business analyst. You say, okay, hey, please, I've built your cube. Go ahead and pull your data and start analyzing. As a business analyst, you can decide to go to choose Power Pivot and pull it from there. But let's assume that we're going with a basic Excel tool. I'll go to data, get from other sources, analysis services. What's the server name? Well, next. Bingo, it shows me the model. This is for this cube. Remember, I have two there. I'll choose mine. This is mine. Now it's asking me question. Is it for this perspective that I created, or for this, or for model? So this is where perspective comes in place. If you are a developer, or let's say from the customer service department, you are only interested in your perspective. The model definitely is for everything. Meanwhile, the sales perspective for those from the sales department. So when you create those perspectives, this is how it's being utilized in Excel. So I'll just go ahead and select my entire model. Next. And this is just to give a friendly name, right? So I can just put it sales analytics. Finish. So they are saying it's a pivot table, a pivot chart, whatever you want, right? But just go ahead and select the pivot table. Voila, you're back to where we were. Remember, the summation sign are for measures, and the ones without summations are attributes. If you go ahead and select anything from like internet sales, you select this. Those are not measures. No measures were created for those. Derived column is not a measure. Measures are those that were created in the grid here. Okay. So that said, this Excel, if you collapse all, you see everything you want. Your KPIs are all built in, and so on and so forth. So now you can enjoy the ride. I have a product category, and I have a product subcategory. So each of these, I know what I was trying to look at the hierarchy. I didn't create hierarchies on this, but however, if you want to create hierarchy, you go back and create hierarchy on the product categories, and then you'll be able to see something like this. Look at this. You see all these calendar, fiscal, these are hierarchies, and these are the raw. So I was looking for this in the internet, in the product category and subcategory. So we didn't create those, but because I don't want this video to be too long, I think I should just do one basic analysis and then we're done. So product, just go to my sales, product category name, subcategory, product name, and you go to the total sales. Let's do the sales here, right? Total sales. Then I want to see the sales margin, total margin. Okay. Then just throw our KPI there, right? Just to make it look good. Throw the KPI here. Sales performance KPI. This doesn't show for some products, but these are goal status. We don't have the values. Well, I think if I go with perhaps throwing the dates, maybe something will show up, right? Let's go with the date now on this column. And okay, that's the goal now. Status. Okay. That is interesting. Product category. What if I analyze just a category? Yeah, again, as you saw earlier, we did that, and that was for geography. But just play around with this, and you'll get your KPIs values showing up. All right, it's showing something here. Okay, I think we finally got it. So I'm just going to drill down to the basic at the product level to see. So at least we should be able to get something at the product category level. Right now. Okay. Let me see product subcategory. Since I have my product category, let me see if I'm gonna put subcategory here. Okay. All right. So that looks good. And by the way, these names you can always change, right? You can make it shorter, like sales performance, right? Instead of making it longer, and then you can't even see. Just do it this way, right? So that way, at least. Yeah. So this is Excel, so we can play around with it. Okay, now it's 11:05. The training is actually started at 8:45. So approximately we're putting close about 2 hours, maybe 30 minutes. It's interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a full video implementing this adventures for data warehouse. There are some advanced topic on row level securities, but for now, we're just going to keep this for further training for those who want to go further. But again, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this. Make sure you contact me if you need any other information. And also, we provide training for business analysts, at the banner of IP Solutions. If you look here, we also provide some free training on Saturdays. Excel, I call it IP Excel. Go online and enroll so you can enjoy from our free Excel and Access training. As for our major trainings on the application tab, you're going to find all these courses that we offer. We are specialized in the BI and health informatics. Again, my name is Pan. Thank you and talk to you later. Bye.